Matthew chapter 20, verse 18. Behold, we go up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man shall be betrayed unto the chief priests and unto the scribes, and they shall condemn him to death. While traveling to Jerusalem, Christ pulled his disciples to the side of the road. He told them again that he would be betrayed in the city and be put to death. As they continued to move towards Jerusalem, they passed two blind men in the road. When the men heard that it was Christ who was passing, they called out to him to have mercy on them. The crowd told them to be quiet, and they responded that they wished for him to restore their sight. Therefore, Christ touched their eyes, and they were healed. Afterwards, they picked themselves up and followed Christ. Meanwhile, the chief priests and elders planned among themselves to have Christ arrested and put to death while he was in Bethany. Christ and his disciples were preparing for the Passover. When they sat at the table, a woman came to Christ and anointed his head with ointment. After Christ had been anointed, the disciple Judas left and sought out the high priest to bargain with them to see what they would give him if he betrayed Christ, and they agreed to give him 30 pieces of silver. Christ celebrated the Passover with his disciples. After the meal, they left for the Mount of Olives, and when they reached Gethsemane, Christ asked his disciples to wait there while he prayed to God to spare him if he could. As Christ was returning from his prayers, Judas arrived with a number of armed men and kissed him. Christ allowed himself to be seized and arrested and was taken to the high priest's palace, where the scribes and elders were put on trial. Christ was bound and delivered to the governor Pontius Pilate. And when Judas saw that Christ had been condemned, he repented of his sin and hanged himself from a tree. Pontius Pilate asked Christ if he was the king of the Israelites. He replied that it was as he said. The priests and the elders began to accuse him of a multitude of trespasses. After Pontius Pilate left the people, the soldiers dressed Christ in a red robe and placed a crown of thorns on his head. Afterwards they mocked him, humiliated him, and nailed him to a cross. Christ called to God, asking why he had forsaken him. He cried out again and died. After his death, the ground shook as the dead were raised up to heaven. When the people witnessed this, they became afraid and finally believed that he had been the Son of God.